Hey there. Thanks for joining us for Tales of Misadventure, a podcast all about business blunders. On this podcast, Nicole Donnelly, founder of DMG Digital, talks to entrepreneurs and learns how they turn their lemons into lemonade. DMG Digital is a full-service marketing agency focused on helping manufacturers attract new buyers through digital self-serve. Nicole Donnelly is a fourth-generation entrepreneur, a girl mom, and an avid traveler. Now, let's head into a tale of misadventure with your host, Nicole Donnelly.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tales of Misadventure, where we talk all about entrepreneurial blunders, missteps, mistakes, and failures. I'm Nicole Donnelly. I am the founder of DMG Digital. We are a marketing agency that helps manufacturers improve their digital self-serve experience and web presence online. And I am so excited to have with me here today the one and only Damon Pistulka. Amazing South Dakotan, wonderful human. So Damon is the co-founder and managing director of Exit Your Way. Exit Your Way helps owners plan, prepare, and execute the sale of their business so they can exit with 2 times and more money and a 90% success rate. Prior to founding Exit Your Way, Damon has served as a consultant and business executive for several manufacturing businesses, and he started his career as a mechanical engineer. Damon is also passionate about baseball and has volunteered as board president for a large local nonprofit baseball organization. Damon, welcome to the show today. I'm so happy you could be here. Thank you for joining me. How's your day going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me here, Nicole.
You're welcome. Well, let's kick it off. Let's get started. I would love to know, let's give our listeners a little bit of background on who Damon is, the person. So I have just a few questions for you just so we can get to know you a little bit. If you could spend your day doing whatever you wanted, wherever you wanted, what would that look like? What would you be doing, Damon?
Riding a motorcycle in the mountains.
Oh, okay. What motorcycle are you riding?
I don't have one now, actually, but
Really?
I'm looking around to get another one. I got in an accident when my kids were young, and I put it away. And I borrowed one from a friend, a couple months ago this fall, and went out and rode again. And I realized, yeah, I need one. So
Oh,
I'm
that's so awesome. When I was a kid, my dad had a motorcycle, and every Sunday he would take me on rides, and he'd take me up to I grew up in Southern California, and we lived at the base of Mount Baldy. It's
yeah,
like, I don't know if it's like mountain high. So anyway, he used to drive. We'd drive all the way up to the base of Mount Baldy, and I just loved those Sunday drives. It was so fun. So
yeah,
that is awesome. And the mountains where you live are incredible. Oh my
yeah.
gosh, what a beautiful
But I've
place to.
been in California down there too. I mean, around Yosemite, there's a road that I remember coming out of, I believe it's called Sonora or something like that. It's on the north side of Yosemite. But there was a road that I came out of there when I went one summer to ride down Yosemite and back around up the coast and stuff. And um, it was so much fun that it was like 10 miles up. I turned around and came back down it again and went back up it again just because it was so
Wow.
much fun. And it was full of like 25, 30 mile an hour corners and just, along the edge of the canyon. It was just incredible.
Oh, sounds stunning. Well, cool. When you get that motorcycle and you start riding, I want to see a picture of that. You got to share video. That's awesome. Very
Cool.
cool. All right. And what is something surprising most people don't know about you, Damon?
I'm an introvert. I am perfectly happy just being in my own.
Wow. That does shock me. So, because you're such an incredible networker, how do you do that? How do you be such an incredible networker and be such an introvert? What's your secret?
I don't know. My passion, I think my passion is what it does it. I mean,
Mm.
I I I love talking business and helping business owners. That to me is
Mhm.
just so much fun, and I think that's what really drives me to do that networking and be out there talking to people.
I love that. So tell me a little bit more about Exit Your Way. Like, why did you start Exit Your Way? Or let's go back a little bit earlier, actually. Did you always know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur when you were a little boy? Or is it something that just kind of came to you later in life? Like, what drove you to want to eventually start Exit Your Way and go in this direction?
I realized that my path was not working for other people.
Mm.
because I thought that I was going to graduate with an engineering degree and work as an engineer because I really liked that work. And I got into it in about 5 years. I realized that I'm pretty good at engineering, but I like people and managing people more than and leading people more than anything. So once I realized that, it was like, man, that's what I wanted to do. So I was 28, 29, and the company I worked with was growing really quick. They let me design and build a facility in Tennessee, and we were in South Dakota. So it was cool as
Wow.
heck. And I was able to go down there, greenfield, build it, and I ran it for 5 years. And that was my first taste at really leading people and stuff. And when I got that, I was like, man, this is fun. But I soon realized that I was in a family business and I wasn't part of the family, and that's as far as I was going. And I was like, okay,
Mm.
now what do I do? I worked out and
Yeah.
I lucked into a job that was really close to us, and it was a bunch of smart investors bought this business.
Mhm.
So now I'm working in an investor owned business with a bunch of Price Waterhouse Cooper owners. These people have, been consulting all over the world and finance and deals and all this kind of thing. And I was like, holy heck, this is an incredible, I had never thought about business in that way. Never thought about
Mhm.
how you connect the financial and the operational pieces of a business together. They've invested a lot in me. They got me a mentor that was like in house with me two
Wow.
days a week for an entire year to help
Wow.
me. And I was just like, and they sent me out to schools on finance and other things. And we were able to literally take that company from the brink of, I didn't realize that I was running a facility for them first, but then I came and began running the company for them. We brought it from the brink of bankruptcy to making millions of dollars a year. And
Wow.
that was just a blast. And we were able to, that's where I learned, I was able to build a team of just phenomenal people, just so many smart people that I love just seeing them. They have blossomed and taken on success. I mean, I've got a friend of mine, she's running a manufacturing company up here, and I don't know, they might have 1,000 people in there
Wow.
and $100 million in revenue or something like that. And other people all over, the vice president of sales here and run operation VPs all over. And it's just so cool to see the success that those people have seen. But anyway, back to me. Um,
But I just have to stop you. That must be so rewarding to be able to see the impact that the time that you invested in those people and see where they've gone from it. Like that is just, I
oh,
don't
it's
know. I just think
incredible.
that's so incredible.
It's incredible,
Yeah.
and it's inspiring to me, and then it makes me
Mhm.
want to help more people. So
Yes.
this is why the introvert comes out
Mhm.
and gets out of the shell, because I've been able to help people. And this leading people is really just about allowing them to find themselves in what they love to do. It's not,
Yes.
it's, and just being there to support them. And,
Yes.
my journey has really been that, but that company, that first company, the intention was building it and selling it. So
Mhm.
in that process, when we got to the end and things were turned around, and we'd done a bunch of other cool operational stuff that if we were in today's world with e-commerce, we would have went like gangbusters beyond that. But that was in the early 2000s, before that was kind of well known, and we were ready to sell it. And then I was able to lead the team through selling the business. And we have gone out and looked at acquiring other businesses, raised money to acquire other businesses, and we were actually going to acquire the biggest competitor in the field. But we got to the end, and they decided that the value we had first talked about was not the value they were going to take, and it was too high.
Mm.
So I got a lot of diligence and deal work through that in there, and then we sold the company, and I was able to lead the team through selling a company and getting that all done and integrating the next one. So the investors in that, I went off and did some other things, but eventually, in the investors in that, I went and worked in a couple other companies for them, doing turnarounds and other stuff, and work with other holding companies. But back to why I do what I do, and that's when I was 35 years old and we sold that first company, I was like, this is what I want to do. I
You
want
just
to do
knew
this.
it.
I
You
want to
just
do this.
knew it.
This is what I want to do. I want to help people do this. And as I got through these other things after I was doing it, I was like, I need to do this on my own because the I just need to do it on my own because I can be much more valuable to an organization when you're just focused on that part of it, that part of building value, preparing for sale and selling a business, because I'm good at the operational part of it. I'm good at running the business. I'm good at doing that. But there's a lot of people that are good at that. And when you look at
Mm.
my skill, for whatever reason, I'm able to visualize that through what the company needs to look like and what we've got to get done, and to be attractive to that buyer, and then how to sell that to the buyer. And as I've been able to do that, that has become more and more apparent to me that and the people that I work with, their specific skill sets working together, we do it a lot differently because we bring that operational business mindset to what we do rather than the transactional mindset of an investment banker. We're
Mhm.
thinking, hey, because an investment banker will try to sell a business, whereas as is where is. We all know
Mhm.
that term, as is where is. Well, if as is where is kind of sucks, you're never selling the thing. We
Yeah.
make sure it's like it's supposed to be, so it's attractive to buyers. I mean, you in the marketing, if you're not speaking the buyer's talk, don't look like what the buyers want it to look like, you're not going very far. We use the
Yeah, you're
same.
absolutely right. I love that too. And it sounds like you've really found a niche for yourself, which I think is so key for small businesses is you really have to really identify what it is that's your superpower, where what it is that you're most passionate about and where there's a need. Like there's a need
Yeah,
in the market. And it sounds like you were able really to identify like there really is a need for people to help them navigate this whole sales process because, you know, my dad was an entrepreneur, my grandfather, my great grandfather. And when you think about like my great grandfather, remember when he sold his business, there's a lot of emotion involved. There's so much stress. There's family members. And oh my gosh, it's just such a stressful ordeal to think about selling the business. So to have someone like you who can really help navigate all of that and make sure that it's positioned in the best way for success, like there's so many businesses that really small business owners that need that, so that they can sell their business for the best value. So I just think that's awesome. It's great.
and we've even since we've been around in Eggs a Year Way for 7 years, and we've changed a lot of what we do. I mean, we thought it
Mm.
was going to be consulting, organically growing, selling, and in the last 2 years, our growth by acquisition work, because most of our owners, they want to increase the value of their business along with preparing it for sale.
Yeah.
So when we talk about our stuff in the value increases is really where we get a lot of our benefits because we're getting them on a growth path. But what we found recently is that owners within an industry buying other companies is much easier than someone trying to do that from the outside. So if you've got someone that
Yeah.
has a manufacturing business, say they've got a manufacturing business in the electronics industry or whatever it is, they probably know other electronics manufacturers like them. And if they want to grow and they're out there trying to grow and they're like, man, growth is really hard, growth by acquisition might be a way because now I can call Nicole to see what Nicole's doing.
Yeah.
Nicole's in the right age group. She might be thinking about retiring. I
Yep.
may be a little bit younger, but I got some more years to go. Well, maybe I'll buy Nicole's company. We'll put them together. We'll be a little bigger going forward. And as you get bigger, you get more dollars per dollar of profit when you sell it. So it's a win-win. It's what the private equity and investment owners do, but they usually are doing it with bigger companies. But if you're an owner in a business, I mean, we've helped people that are, they've got $2 million revenue businesses, $1 million revenue businesses a year that are going, well, I can buy two or three of my competitors using
Yep.
SBA loans. And now
Mhm.
I'm a $5 million business. Well, if they're a $5 million business at the end of the day, they're $1 million business to start with. They buy a few companies. They're a $5 million business. Every dollar profit probably was 2x at the beginning, maybe. Now they're
Mhm.
5x on every dollar.
Yeah.
I mean, they increase in value if you have your base business set up to do that. So we really have seen a change in that from the growth standpoint. Because in the beginning, we were doing a lot of helping people with a lot of organic growth and getting great results. But over the last couple of years, helping people with acquisitions is becoming a big part of our business.
That's so fascinating. And I think it speaks a lot to, as entrepreneurs, something we are always constantly having to be challenged with is like listening to the market, seeing the opportunity, and having to pivot all the time. Right. And so that's, I think,
Yep.
a really great example of that. And I think, I worked with a client who really struggled with pivoting. They were in a dental lab industry, and the industry was changing. There was a lot of acquisitions happening, roll ups happening, and the way that they had positioned their business for like 20 years was to go after this specific type of dentist that was a private practitioner. And what was happening is the market was shifting, and the need for their specific type of dental lab services was shifting, but they weren't able, they just couldn't pivot. They weren't able to do it. And it just really created a lot of challenges for them because they couldn't make that shift. So I think what you're saying speaks really so important for entrepreneurs. We constantly have to be thinking about like, what is it the market needs now? What are the opportunities? How do I need to pivot? And it never ends. Like you constantly have to be thinking about that, I think. So that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And then just making it easier for your customers to do business with you. I mean, those are the
Yeah,
things, and looking at it from their perspective.
absolutely. So let's talk about, I would love to do a little story time, Damon. Let's do a little story time. I'd love for you to talk about a time in your entrepreneurial journey where you went through a pretty big mistake. We all have to face them as entrepreneurs. It all happens. But, I think I'd love to hear, like, tell us a story. Tell us a story. And although I'm sure it's very painful, so it won't feel like a happy fairy tale
No,
story. But it is what it is, right? It's tough and
yeah,
challenging being an entrepreneur. But like, tell us a story of something that's happened and what went wrong, and most importantly, what did you guys do because of it? What did you learn from it? How did you take that experience
yeah,
and turn it into lemonade?
yeah. Well, I think that first of all, when people ask me this, um, I go, I really can't remember them because
Really?
there's because you go, it's just part of it. It's part of it, right? Because it's
Mhm.
learning. It's like, when you're a kid and you run too fast and fall down, or you didn't realize, hey, maybe doing that wasn't so smart, But we have, when we started Eggs Your Way, we started off with a pretty good bang, and we had some nice successes in the beginning. And there was one client that was a really good client, and we were all in with them doing the consulting, and we had phenomenal results. We really did, and really enjoyed working with the client. And they were just all the way through the process. We were increasing value. We had a target, got to the target, got ready to sell it. We were selling the business right down to the end, and it was multiples of what they originally had wanted.
Mhm.
So multiples of the value that they originally
Yeah.
wanted. So it was significantly higher. And a family member literally within a couple of weeks of signing the closing documents convinced them that it wasn't a good decision. And
Oh my gosh.
for our company at the time, this was a pretty big deal because we had gone all in with this client because it was taking me, another person, Andrew, significant portion of our time. So we weren't doing
Mhm.
much business development work. We were doing,
Mm.
because this was in the bag. We have a great buyer buying the business, and it was over $750,000. And
Mm.
this was two or so years into the startup. This was good for us,
Yeah.
and yeah, that stung. That stung. So it went to nothing, and it went to nothing overnight,
Oh
literally.
my gosh. So
And
that was it. They made the decision. They just decided they weren't gonna sell it at all. They just wanted to hold on to it? Is that what the decision was?
the decision was that it got a lot more valuable overnight, and the value was well outside of anything that anybody would ever have supported in the
Mhm.
market.
Yep.
And it was, so that's just the way it was. And so yeah, you go, oh yeah, that kind of sucks because and this actually, if I remember right, It may even happen around this time of the year.
Are you kidding? Like right
I'm
before
not. I
Christmas?
think it was in the fall. I think I don't even
Oh
remember. See
God.
now, look, I don't even remember, right? Because I'm past it. It's what it is, But what it taught us is like, listen, we no matter what, I think appropriate contracts are needed when the stakes are high.
Yes.
They are needed. Even it could be your best friend, right? And
Mhm.
and and it's hard when it's someone that's close to you, but you just got to say, listen, if something happens, we want to be able to walk away and talk about this later.
Yeah.
And if we agree about it on it now, we can. And we see this a lot in partnership disputes, right? We do business valuations for partnership disputes a lot. And if people would just go through, okay, if it doesn't work out between us, how do you buy me out? How do I buy you out? Buy sell agreements for partners is huge. And just doing those kind of things makes it so much easier. So what we learned is basically we had to change our contracts. We had to change our contracts to the point that's like, listen, we get to a certain point and you're going through this process, or you don't have to, but you're going to pay us like we went through the process because we're there.
Mhm.
And
Yep, exactly. Because you've
that's
invested. I mean, at that point, you'd been working on that deal for how long?
well, the deal part of it was about a year, but
Yeah.
we had been consulting with them for a year plus ahead of that too.
Man. Oh,
And
that's
of course, we didn't have our pipeline full. It was
yeah.
empty as a bottom of a Coke can, and we had to start over. So it really stunk. But we learned from it, and now we do things a lot differently. And yeah, I don't think that's happening again.
Sounds like you have processes in place to make sure like you've always got a full pipeline in case the, you know,
Oh
shit hits
no!
the
I mean,
fan.
it's always your pipeline is always you always want to fill your pipeline a little
Yeah.
bit more, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things.
Oh,
You just learn from that stuff. I mean, those hard lessons are things that you're going to do, and entrepreneurs, you're going to get gut wrenching stuff. You're going to have gut wrenching stuff that's going to hit you. The big and people will see me post on LinkedIn or something about getting back up. I mean that. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you better get back up because hey, today it's going to be awesome, but tomorrow you can get punched in the gut.
exactly. It's
You
such
got to
a
get
roller
back up
coaster.
after it, otherwise. And it's sales. You talk about Wesleyan Greer. She talks about sales and about how good the failures. You got to get back up, and that's the thing is go.
Well, what do you think it is that motivates people to get back up, right? Like, I feel like as entrepreneurs, like you have to be reaching for something higher. Like you have to have a saga
Yep.
that's
Yep.
pulling you up, right? Because otherwise, if that mission isn't strong enough for you and for your team,
Yeah.
like if they're not behind it, that when you get hit down hard enough, they're not going to get back up because they
Yeah.
don't believe in it. They don't have the vision. They don't see what it is that you're trying to do. And I think like just hearing you talk about the passion that you have for helping these small business owners, you know, create something more valuable that they can sell, you can hear it in your voice. And that's what kind of like pulls you up every day when you get knocked down. Um,
Yeah.
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 I
Like
don't
our
know. I think too, like, aren't we like, I feel like as an entrepreneur, like I'm a glutton for punishment. Like, but it's so hard and challenging, but it's like what I love about it. And I'm sure you probably feel the same way.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you love it.
Yeah. The saga is important. For us, for me personally, getting up in the day is just that I'm going to help as many business owners overcome getting to the end of their business only to realize they've got to close it down or going to get so much less than they do, and just the I don't even know what the words to describe that disappointment of
Mhm.
business owners when they get to the end and realize they didn't create something of value, and that will give them the legacy. That's my saga, is to make sure as many people don't have that situation as I can.
Yeah, and I think that's huge because we care so much as entrepreneurs about our businesses. We put so
Yeah.
much time into it and commitment and just blood, sweat, and tears. So to come at the end, towards the end of your life and, not the end of your life, but like, you get
Yeah,
to
yeah.
a point where
End
you're
of
like,
your career. I mean, some
in
of
your
these people,
career.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're at the age where it's like, oh man, I worked on this for, I built this business for 27 years, put my kids through college, let
Yeah.
us build us homes, all this kind of stuff, and then they go, it's only worth that, or it's not sellable. I mean, and don't get me wrong, not sellable is not something that's just a small business. I mean, this happens to $50 million a year businesses. You can't sell them
Yeah.
because there's too much risk because of owner dependency or customer concentration or supplier concentration. There's just all these things that can derail this. And it's not just the small business owner. It's a 10, 20, 50, $100 million business
Mhm.
owner that finds themselves in these situations. And it's like, man, it's not good.
That's so interesting because to be honest, like you think about it, like the owner dependency, for example, to me as just I've always just thought, well, that seems to be like a small business problem, right? Because once you get to a
Nope.
certain size, you have to have scaled it to some point where the owner isn't as involved in much as much. So that's so interesting to me that that's still an issue for some of these larger organizations, Damon.
We had a $50 million, $40 million a year client several years ago that we helped through that situation with four
Wow.
owners in it. Four owners in it: CEO, CFO, COO, and a technical specialist.
Hmm.
What's going to happen if somebody comes in and pays you tens of millions of dollars? All
Hmm.
those people don't have the same incentive to work.
Yeah.
Buyers know that. Investment buyers, because at that size, it's investment buyers or other larger companies. They know that what's going to happen after the money comes through. So we had to help. They had to get other people in place. They had to
Yep.
transition into those, get all that stuff ready. Well, then they were able to do it,
Yeah.
and they
You,
were
you
doing it.
you do have to be always thinking about a succession plan.
Yeah, yeah. It's that's
Mhm.
and honestly, that's one of the biggest things we help with our clients. As we get into preparing the businesses, is really having the appropriate management team,
Mhm.
executive leadership in place prior to the sale, and on the ground long enough to show they can do what they need to do, because it's distinct. It's distinct. I mean, if you've got $1 million in profit, you need to do it one way. If you've got 5+ million in profit, it needs to be built another way. If you're going to sell to a strategic buyer, it's got to be built a different way. And these things all play into how much money I'm going to get for it when I get out the door, try to go out the door. So
Yeah. Wow. So cool. Man, this is so much fun. I just want to do this all day. Can we just talk? Let's just not work and let's just talk about this all day.
no,
I feel like
no,
I'm
because I
learning
would. I'm boring as
so,
heck.
so much from you, Damon. It's amazing. So when the time comes that I'm ready to sell my business, I'm going to come to you, man.
Definitely,
Oh,
definitely.
sheesh. Well,
We'll
very
help get
good.
you on the right road.
Well, okay, so I have a few more questions for you. Oh man, we're like coming up on a time. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about marketing. Okay. I
Yep.
own a marketing agency. As a business owner, you constantly have to be thinking about how are you going to get new business? How are you going to market yourself? What have you seen that's worked really well for you in marketing your business? What's worked really well and what hasn't worked?
Okay. What hasn't worked? Direct outreach. Direct outreach is just the thing that is, um, people don't want to be sold to.
Yep.
We used to try that. We used to do that years ago, when we started. And direct outreach, two things in our kind of work. If you're doing direct outreach, you're going to get people that are desperate
Mm,
and price shoppers because they don't know
yep.
you, right? They don't.
Yep.
They're either in a position they're just like hoping for that last straw, or they're trying to find something for nothing,
Mhm.
and neither one of those are good.
Yeah.
So,
It's a much harder sell. Much harder sell.
oh yeah, yeah. Oh, it's going to be this much. Well, I sure you can't. And it's like,
Right.
you know, it's you want to adjust the scope? No, we can't. We need all. Well, you know, it is what it is. You can go to Score, you can go to all these other places and get free business help. Go there. That's a great spot. But but you know, that's what hasn't worked.
Okay.
What has worked is long-term relationship building,
Mhm.
because and at scale, because if you can, I think the key is building relationships with people that have one-to-many relationships with your type of clients.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, CPAs,
Yep.
lawyers, high-level executive advisors, that's who we talk to. Because if a CPA that really recognizes the value in what we do, there's a difference. You will see that when you work with people. There's going to be people that recognize the value in what you do, and you have to communicate it well. But you build relationship with them, and over time, and it'll take time to progress. I mean, when people talk about marketing as farming, it truly is, because it's not going to happen overnight. But I can tell you, if you invest in those things and you invest hard and you put in the effort and do what you need to do, it returns in ways that you just stuff just shows up. And that's the cool part about it.
Yeah.
So that building those long-term relationships is best. And for us, the Faces of Business has been great for that. Kurt and
Mm-hmm.
I shows have been great for that. Just building those relationships and continue to build relationships. And, you know, we're blessed now that we get a lot of leads. We get a lot of leads. And, and if we have to talk to 10 or 20 to get one that's good, that's cool. But we talk to tons of people, and it seems like the more we help people, connect people, share information, share talented people, the more it comes back around.
Oh, that's so true. I love what you said too about like finding partners that can kind of resell for you. That's
Yeah.
so huge. I
Yeah.
found that in my own business too. Like I have several partners that basically are they just bring business to me. And it's
Yeah.
just so much more efficient, effective. And I think that's a really, really great advice for small businesses who want to get scrappy is to figure out who are those affiliates going to be for you that have similar services or see similar clients and need your ancillary services. That's huge. And the long-term relationship building, like you're absolutely right. Marketing is absolutely a long game. It is not something that happens overnight. And you really do have to commit to building those relationships at scale. And I
Hmm.
think what you're seeing too, like you've really gone really hard on LinkedIn. And I think that's also something small businesses need to think about is like, 80% of the purchasing process now is happening online. It's not the way it used to be where, you have a brick and mortar storefront. And that's only going to increase over time. So it's how you're showing up in those online channels. And for small business owners, I think finding one channel that they can really just like go hard on, right? And really just knock it out is a great like what you've done is a really great way. Like don't try to just marketing so complex. You can try so many different things. And if you do try to do too many things all at once, it's just going to be setting you up for mediocrity. So if you can really
Yeah.
do it one. So that's really
Yeah.
great advice. I love that, Damon. That's cool. Okay, so I have one final question for you.
Okay.
My last question is, obviously you want to mitigate risk as much as possible. We know as entrepreneurs there's going to be mistakes, there's going to be failures. It's a roller coaster. But what do you think? Do you have any advice for business owners on what they can do to kind of like keep those mistakes from being catastrophic? Like, is there like a vitamin that they can be taking every day so that those mistakes can be as the least risky as possible?
Well, I don't think if you don't take big chances, you're not going to get big results. So
Mm.
that's one of the things that I'm probably not good to ask about that.
No, I'm glad. I want to hear all about it.
Because that to me is, if you aren't, yes, control your risk. Take calculated risks. Don't jump in and spend $1 million on something without really knowing what the downside potential could be.
Yeah.
But think about what the upside potential could be. Because if the
Yeah.
upside potential is 100 million and you're spending 1 million, and that million isn't going to put you out of business, literally, that's the decision I make. Is it going to put us out of business, or is it just going to make
Mm.
me kind of rethink? Because if it's not putting you out of business, but you got that kind of opportunity, and you just got a good chance of succeeding, and that's a gut check.
Yeah.
Do it. Why not? Why not? and
Oh,
and
that's great.
because if you're not, because otherwise I can do all these little incremental things, and that to me is
Yeah.
just like death by a thousand tricks. Like, yeah, that's cool that I made 27 cents more, but listen, it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. By at the end of the year, if I continually push what I'm trying to do to the point and say, listen, I'm going to spend that $1 million because
Yeah.
I really think I can make that $100 million, not just in my mind, but I've talked to people, we've agreed upon it. We see the vision, how we're going to do it. Investing that money is there. And, like you said, marketing is a huge leap.
Mhm.
And I believe small companies need to invest significant amounts of money in marketing
Mhm. Yes.
because, like you said, 80% of the buyers want to buy online. If
Mhm.
you're not making it real easy for them to buy online, and get them to a purchasing decision by answering questions, make it easy, give them more information, let them go down the path themselves, all
Mhm.
those kind of things. And then it's all got to be connected into your own internal systems and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But these take investment, and it's
Yeah.
going to take long term to pay off. But when I go back and look at people in the past that have been successful, I come back to people that in the consulting industry 10, 15 years ago. You take any of them. The guy that we interviewed on the Friday show, the duct tape marketing guy, I forget his name, but I'm
John
sorry.
Jantz, I think. John
Yeah,
Jantz.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, super, super successful. And then there's two or three others like that I go back, man, they were the godfathers of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And they set up systems. They took the time when it wasn't to allow their customers, to allow people to really do this much better and do it more online. If you're not doing that, you're kind of. I think that it's been proven it works. That's
Oh,
just
you're
me.
absolutely right. I think it's
Yeah,
all about like scaling your sales team, right? Especially
it is. It is.
manufacturers who have traditionally have like large, sales
Yeah,
teams in-house or whatever that are doing outbound calling. We talked about outbound outreach. Those days are long gone.
yeah,
Digital marketing and sales is now becoming this smarketing combo. And I think progressive companies see that and realize and understand, hey, look, if we want to really be successful and grow, we have to combine sales and marketing together and figure out a way to scale the sales team online so that people are self-selecting, they're self-qualifying themselves because buyers today, they don't like talking to salespeople, especially the new millennials that are coming up. They just want to be able to make a purchase
yeah,
as
yeah.
so, and even
You
for
got to share
these big
pricing. You
deals,
got to share.
like you got to share your pricing, and even the large deals like what you're dealing with, there's ways that what you're doing with your faces of business. That's scaling your sales team. You're creating content that lives on forever that people can
Yeah,
access at any time. Your all the nuggets of wisdom you've shared here, people can benefit from. They don't have to call you and talk to you about it. You're building that relationship with them online. So everything that you're doing, I think, is huge for small businesses to be thinking about. And on investment, so often people see marketing as an expense. And I like to try to encourage business owners to think about it like you invest in capital equipment, you need to think about marketing in the same way. It's an
hmm,
investment in your company. You have to think about it as that rather than like a line item that's an expense on your books.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Yes, you
anyway.
do.
Well,
Cool.
Damon, this has been so much fun. Thank you for joining
Awesome.
me. I love it. You're a rock star. You're doing such great work. Where can people reach you if they want to learn more about you?
They can find me on LinkedIn or come to our website, exityourway.com, exityourway.us, exityourway.ca. If you're in Canada, they can find me.
Exit your way. I've got it. And if I want to exit, I'm going to exit your way, Damon.
There you go.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Tales of Misadventure is produced, edited, and moderated by Julie Basello with Basello Media. Music by Marcus Way. Special thanks to our amazing guests and the entire DMG Digital team. Visit us at dmgdigital.io to get access to all our podcast interviews and other helpful resources. And if you'd like to get updates on the latest and greatest, please sign up for our email newsletter. We'll see you next time for another episode of Tales of Misadventure. Until then, keep falling forward.